everybody, and welcome to Week 5, Day 2 of the Academy broadcast. I'm Jenkins. I'll be your host for the day, and joining me, we got Rafa back! He has joined us once again on the Academy broadcast, bringing us the good tunes to give us the good vibes of the day. And we also got Cubby here, as always. Cubby, how's it going?
Far less talented, but, going pretty well. And glad we have some nice background here for our summer show.
Yo, you need to be like the tambourine guy or something. It's like that's the one that like isn't as talented, right? You just kind of like smack it against your hand. That's a good vibe to bring. All right, Rafa, let's get your actual thoughts now. I'm gonna need you to put that down. I know it's fantastic. It's amazing. But welcome to the show.
Good vibes.
Say hi to all the fans out there. This guy cast an international finals for a video game.
I don't know how to really come off of that. I said, just thank you. It was a blast.
Gas me up.
Singapore is beautiful. Y'all should go check it out sometime. And play Wild Rift too. Boom.
Exactly. Download Wild Rift. Mobile games are real games, Sierra. I saw that segment yesterday, and I was very upset. Let's take a look at the standings currently in Academy, as that is the actual show that we have today. No surprise, Team Liquid at the top currently, last split's winners with 100 Thieves right behind them. And then are we calling it the clump or the blob? Have we decided this split what it's called?
Oh, man.
No, not again.
Yeah, it's the middle of the pack. We'll figure it out.
Sure, yeah.
That's the safe neutral term, because if we start introducing this topic again, Magical is going to spawn from his break day and be like, no, it's the blob.
See, that's the secret, Rafa. We don't give Magical break days. He's always working, which honestly probably explains a lot. But this is the current standings of where things stand today. But outside of just that, the standings moved a little bit from yesterday. Unfortunately for some teams, good for some others, because we had a lot of upsets, and we actually have a little montage to go through some of those. Starting off with EG and their upset yesterday. I mean, it was a 1-1, but we still called it an upset, right, Cubby?
I mean, it was a 1-1, but they were also winning game 1 for the majority of it, as eventually their comp got outscaled. But for EG, this is a team that we were looking more from out of the break week. I feel like they have not been playing up to some of the expectations that we have for some of the individuals they have on this roster. So to see them really take it to 100 Thieves with two very similar drafts in back-to-back games, yes, it's a 1-1 on the scoreboard, but it was a much better look for this squad, and really hoping we get to see more of it as we move into the later part of our season.
The craziest thing, Rafa, is game 1, it was like, I don't think Cubby did it justice. That game went 50 minutes. That was one of the longest games. Actually, I think the longest game of the summer split so far.
Have there not been any longer games at all in Academy so far? I feel like with the durability patch you guys all had while I was gone, I thought the game would just naturally extend by a solid 10-15 minutes naturally. We already were reaching anywhere between 25 and 30-minute games. So that already sounded like we're getting into 35, 45-minute territory for an average.
I guess Rafa's not impressed. 50-minute games mean nothing to him. He's coming off of Wild Rift casting. He's like 15 minutes over that. Anything over that. That's
true.
Long. That's long for me. But we actually had a response. We had a response from the top laner, Surdy from Evil Geniuses, and his thoughts after the match. Cubby, he's got a really high kind of view of his own standings currently, despite the team being pretty low in the overall standings. He feels like individually he's performing.
Hey, we also flew another Surdy tweet where it was like, hey, we're crushing teams in scrims. We just have to really bring that to the stage. So I feel like Surdy is just kind of unchained now on Twitter, spitting out what he truly thinks. And I got to say, EG is struggling, but as I mentioned, this is a team that we feel like isn't performing to the potential that the parts can perform to. I think that Surdy, I don't have him as high as 2, but I definitely have him my top 4 in terms of how I rank top laners. I think that he might put himself over Darshan, given the differential playstyle. Darshan really likes to flip lanes, take any advantage he can. Surdy, I think he plays out lanes in a much more methodical manner and likes the consistency of that. So I feel like that's why Surdy rates himself where he does. But I do feel like he's one of the stronger top laners we have, and hoping that we get to see Surdy continue to step up in the summer and also show some more flashes of the brilliance we saw in spring.
So you believe that he's referencing Darshan in this tweet then, specifically?
No, Tenacity is number 1. If
I
anyone doesn't have Tenacity...
I thought Tenacity would be the clear favorite based on what I've heard around the block.
I have Darshan over Surdy. I feel like Surdy has himself over Darshan. I think that's one of the big differences.
Okay.
That's the contentious part right there. But that is Evil Geniuses with their win. Another team got a very much-needed win for their standings, TSM. They had a couple of roster swaps. That's a big story of the week, right, for everybody. It's mostly on the LCS side is what we're focused on, but it actually worked out really well for their series against FlyQuest here in Academy.
And, like, for the side of TSM, we were expecting, I mean, it's been a lot of changes from top to bottom. I think that this is the most changes I've seen an org make in the middle of a summer split, like in the history of LCS.
Yeah,
but when we look
it was
at this,
a lot.
when we look at this Academy roster though this week, there was no question that we felt like they were going to perform better, given what we've seen from them in past weeks. And I think the fact that they had the form they did. The big thing for me that really stuck out was Takeover. I think the Takeover in this roster, no matter which bot lane's playing, just given that, Anda is a jungler that has so much experience, really sound at pathing, I think it's really going to help continue to free up Takeover to make the big plays that we know this guy can make. He did it on the LCS stage in spring, and it's good to see him doing it in Academy a little bit in summer, hoping to see more of that in the back half, as this Emperor's Divide was huge.
Yeah, Rafa, when we look at Takeover, this is always somebody that we knew had the potential to make really big plays and be this carry on the team. And it looks like, as of the small sample size from yesterday, that he's able to do that.
Yeah, since his induction into TSM Academy squad last year in 2021, he was always someone that had a lot of potential, and we knew that the ceiling was there. And it just depended on meta swapping around. I know during the summer meta, he and Harry kind of fell into the same category of, dude, these mid laners are insanely good at either assassins or melee bruisers back when the Lee Sin thing was super huge, but Takeover is starting to flourish with versatility and showing that he can really play all champions, which is something that's going to be really important in case TSM decide to let go of Maple after this year.
Also, something that I feel like prevented Takeover from staying in that LCS spot was his champion pool. So the fact that he is demonstrating he can play more champions at a high level, really, really good for Takeover.
Really cool to follow his story, but also the story of Solo, the top laner who has been on, he's just like fill duty for every org, right? This is just like the substitute top laner that everybody picks up whenever they need somebody. And hey, according to him, he still got it. He had a really strong series yesterday up against Kumo.
Yeah, Death, taxes, Solo subs in middle of summer for a mid-tier team. I feel like that's really things that we can count on in the ecosystem. And hey, for Solo, he played well yesterday. I don't feel like Kumo is one of the strongest top laners that we have in Academy, but I am looking forward to see Solo be tested for the rest of this week and see if he ends up staying in this Academy slot or potentially moving up to the LCS slot, as I think that Solo, given he was coaching earlier in the split, but his Champs Q rank was pretty good. That account looks like he was still competing at a high level. Good that he was able to show that on the Academy stage.
I mean, he's going to get a big test on the other stream today, which is why you should be watching both streams, both here and at twitch.tv/path to LCS, because TSM will be playing against 100 Thieves Academy. So Tenacity versus Solo, you're going to have to see if you can take on the young Zoomer over there.
If Solo bodies Tenacity, that's just going to be like the most Solo thing to possibly happen. So like I was coaching, then I just sub in randomly, and now I'm just like taking down all the top Academy top laners.
Hey, to be fair, Tenacity did that last split to this split pretty much, so you never know.
Well, speaking of top lane, we actually had a very interesting thing happen yesterday on stream between Golden Guardians and Team Liquid. Talk about upsets here. We had one of the coolest drafts that we've seen in a while, so I'm just going to let the footage speak for itself.
Yo, Nasus would slap. Nasus will slap. And you look at this. I have been waiting to see a Nasus game. Over the wall. Concept is now in a 1-on-4 because Prismo can't get in there, but he's taking out Yawn. Is that enough damage down?
Oh boy, this is gonna be a fun 1v1. Check this.
Wither.
Bonk.
Okay, he's got the ulti, but he's still slow.
One bonk.
Harry, he's trying to get the
2
Q
bonks.
cooldown so that he can find mobility. He can get to the blast cone and buy some distance away from Concept, but he's got so much ability
3
haste.
bonks.
It was very hard to play against an Nasus in the game, so I mean we had a lead and we threw the dragon fight, so after that I think it was pretty hard. And game 2, I think Akali is just one of my very comfortable champions, and yeah, I was just very confident in that game. And there was no Nasus, so we didn't struggle as much. And
Hey, got the big bob of the demolished frog right at the end, dude. That was
So
such a crazy
satisfying.
game. So satisfying. I love that the two of you were also on that cast, so I get the reaction from the casters that had to go through it. Yeah, Nasus slapped, Rafa. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, and more than slapped Kingus, I think it
bonked.
Yeah, it bonked.
It bonked.
Yeah, there we go.
It did, in fact, bonk. And I think one coach in particular is going to remember the feeling of that bonk, because we actually got Spawn's thoughts after that game. Hopefully he's been sleeping all right, because I was a little concerned for his health, Cubby, based on how that game went.
It was a good draft. I think that Concept is a player that has a unique champion pool. A lot of times we see that be used to have him blind champions, as he is so comfortable playing the tanks. But good to see him, not traditionally being that carry side lane player, able to find a champ that he is able to execute that is really powerful in that draft. Use it really well. Good to see TL paying respect to how good that pick was that game. And yeah, I mean, I was having dreams about it. I don't know about Spawn, but that was a fun Nasus game, man. Whenever I can get one in, it's great.
I feel like every Nasus player dreams about Nasus, because like all you have to do is just last hit minions, and you just have like it's one of those like chill, peaceful dreams, right? Where it's just like I don't even know why this is happening. But yeah.
No, I was about to say, I think Concept was living his best Cirquez cosplay. Just, vibing with the lo-fi beats and just chilling while the rest of Team Liquid are just running around with chickens, their heads cut off, right? They're just like, how do we deal with this Nasus? How do we deal with this guy? And Concept's just like, bonk, bonk.
See, I mean, you're on the lo-fi angle. I actually think that it's more the music that we chose for that replay, just like this rock music, and he's just in his zone, like yeah.
See, but that's not the Cirquez way.
Scaling.
If you watch Cirquez streams back in the day, like season 5, season 6, he would always stream like super late at night, and then it would be like super chill music, and he's just playing Nasus, man. It's great times, great vibes.
Well, the reason that we brought all that up is because those are the bottom 3 teams in the standings, all able to pick up pretty big wins yesterday. They didn't all have 2-0s. That's only TSM, but it means that the standings are starting to shake up, Cubby, and that brings up an interesting discussion that maybe we can dive into a little bit later in the day, but I'm curious to open it up for right now. It's that some of the top teams, we can't just assume that they will get clean victories over some of the teams towards the bottom of the standings.
I mean, no, but also, are there any 2-0s going down? Like, once TL gets 0-2'd, once 100 Thieves gets 0-2'd, once C9 gets 0-2'd, then I'm gonna have some concern. But until that happens, just games here and there, it happens.
All right, we'll give them a couple of games to drop here and there, especially the unique draft picks. But outside of what happened yesterday, we have an update for today, one big roster change. People were kind of shocked to see Dokla in for CLG Academy yesterday. We actually have the reason for why Jenkins was not available. He will be here today, so Jenkins is back. Our boy got hit by a car. Yeah, if anybody tells you that being a cyber athlete is a safe job, and you're not prone to injury, just send them this tweet right here, because it's serious business.
LA is ruthless, man. What the hell?
Fortunately, I did ping Jenkins just to say, hey, glad you're all right. Jenkins, having the great attitude that he does, kind of said, I got a good story now, as he got hit by a purple Lamborghini. So. Yeah, fortunately, we're able to kind of chuckle about it now because he's okay. But yeah, it's good that Jenkins is okay. We're gonna have him back today. Dokla did do some e-smurfing yesterday, which was nice, but good to see CLG back to the full lineup.
I do have to say, though, I know that we're on kind of a heater of investigations of teams lately, and I think that we might need to give one for CLG Academy as well, because this is not the only time that this has happened, Cubby. CLG Academy has been hit by 3 cars in the past 4 years. How is this possible? Rude Claw, what are you doing to your players? I know you've only been there for like a year, but come on.
I mean, I feel like all of last year, CLG as an org was just kind of hit by a car, so I'm glad they've at least been able to recover from that. But, you know, it's at least unfortunately, Jenkins is, doing much better now. And, hopefully this does not continue moving forward.
2 of those 3 was just all of last year.
Yeah.
we kind of lumped that into one sum right there. Oh, wow.
That just happened.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that it was a purple Lamborghini, I think, is just the cherry on top for Jenkins right
there.
Hey,
don't text and drive, guys. That is a serious message here.
It would
That's
be
a
a person riding in a purple Lambo that would just not care about other people. Anyway, moving on.
Well, outside of our biases towards people that drive certain vehicles, let's take a look at the schedule going forward, because this is what everyone is tuning in for. All the Academy action that you have today on the twitch.tv/Academy stream, the one that you're currently on. Dignitas versus EG, Cloud9 versus Golden Guardians, and CLG versus IMT. But make sure you pull up Stream B as well, because you would be missing 2 big matches if you don't. TL versus TSM and FlyQuest versus 100 Thieves. I personally, I don't know everyone else's style, I like to have one up on this monitor and one up on this monitor. So that way I'm not playing any games in the background. I'm giving my full attention, or 50-50 attention to the streams. I don't know. Cubby, what's your preferred viewing strategy when you have both streams pulled up?
Stream on this monitor, notes on the other.
Okay, all right. So you cycle between the streams?
Later,
Oh, okay, all right. Fair enough. Oh, yeah, because you're casting, right? Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah. If I'm off, yeah, it's both. I like to give the big match the audio, the main screen. I like to honor that. I had the Open Championship, 150th running of that on the big screen this past night with LCK in the second. It was a great night for me, man. It was historic golf tournament plus LCK. That's good time.
Well, if you were wondering why Cubby's a little tired today, now we know the answer. But with that said, if any of that surprised you, any of the schedule, that's probably because you're not following a certain Twitter account. Make sure to follow Path to LCS on Twitter, because this is where you can get all the updates, not just on Academy, but everything in the Path to LCS. So that means including the amateur ecosystem, all the circuit qualifiers that are going on right now. We have updates there, as well as all the silly content that we do, because I had to catch up on a lot of content this last weekend. Since I was gone for the first half of the split. So if you're interested, make sure to check that out on Twitter. And with that said, we are finally ready to dive into the first matchup of the day. This will be, of course, Dignitas versus Evil Geniuses. Best of 2 ahead of us here. And I want to start with Dignitas. If we look at this roster, Rafa, I know you've been gone for a while, but I know that you're also the Dig guy. So what are your first thoughts on Dignitas so far in this split?
Well, not going to lie, when we were going into the summer split, I was really a big fan of the old roster. So when I saw changes, I was like, okay, well, there better be a good reason behind it. And from what I've been able to gather from the Dig camp is that now that Insanity has come in, someone who has a lot of experience of being a leader and just being able to play on the LCS stage, that has alleviated a lot of the shot calling and the leadership responsibilities from JJ, who can now focus on his lane with Spawn and really enable him to be one of the best marksmen, if not just bot lane carries that we have in Academy this split so far.
Spawn's been having a split and a half, but on the opposite side of the rift, we have Evil Geniuses Academy. Cubby, I'm going to give you this one. Just briefly summarize again kind of what we can expect for this team going into this match.
I think that EG as a team love to play fast, and I think that early in the season, we've seen EG stumble when trying to play fast, just trying to execute dives that when I look at drafts, when I look at how a jungler is pathing, it is the correct play, but they just aren't able to get there, aren't able to find the kills, find the leads they need. Fortunately, yesterday against 100 Thieves, it was a much better look for them. Even after the first play they made, it was a triple kill for the 100 Thieves jungler Will. In a comp where they got brutally outscaled, they still were able to push that 50 minutes off of really good Lysandre play from Soligo specifically, and good team play overall. Really hoping to get to see more of that today from EG out of the break week.
And outside of just performance from the solo laners, also Kaori has been having still a decent enough split here in this summer. Maybe not living up to the expectations that we had after the spring performance, but that opens up an interesting conversation point, because a lot of people in the community, I even had Kaori as the AD carry that I think is ready to make that jump into the LCS. So we're going to do a segment before we hop into pick and ban called Forced Debate. Now, I'm going to give each of you a player, and we're going to argue about this player as to why they are the LCS ready player in their position. Rafa, I know you're the Dignitas guy, so you'll get Spawn. Cubby, that means that you're going to be arguing for Kaori. So we're going to run some clips of Spawn. Rafa, you got 30 seconds. Once the clips end, then that's it. That's your argument. Argue for me why Spawn should be an LCS.
Spawn, very chill dude, played hockey growing up, so you already know that he has got the vibes down on lock, because that sport, while it seems intense, Trevor still maintains such a cool and very calculated personality and just mentality into the game. But when you also look from Spawn's beginnings in amateur, he was an Ashe specialist, almost one trick back when I think back of Polar Ace, and now he has evolved and flourished to be an incredible team fight carry at this stage.
Okay, not too bad. I hear that you're slowing down as the countdown's there. Okay, there we go. So good vibes and improved champion pool. That's what I got from that one, and ability to carry in team fights. Cubby, you got 30 seconds on the clock for Kaori. Argue for me why this player should be in the LCS.
So Kaori, this split hasn't been quite as good as last split, but last split he was my vote for most valuable prospect as my first vote. The thing that I value about Kaori is that he lanes well, but when he gets into the team fights, when he goes aggressive, the spots that he chooses like this one, I don't think there are other players in the league that see things like this in Academy and at times LCS as well. I think that his ability to go aggressive at the right times, to wait out the cooldowns and make sure that he's turning things around when it counts, is what separates Kaori from the rest of the pack.
Okay, so he maybe hasn't shown as much improvement since spring, but he's got this killer mentality. He's willing to go in and make these crazy plays for the side of Kaori. I like that. I'm still torn, though, so Rafa, I'm going to give you 15 seconds for closing argument on Spawn. What you got?
Spawn is not going to make the team go mental boom. That's all I'm going to say. Trevor has good vibes, man. He is always going to make sure the vibes are chill and the team mentality and morale is always boosted up.
All right, intangibles.
Okay, I like that. See, as a GM signing a player to a team, I don't know all of these things, so this is why I need to have your, your kind of your thoughts and your opinions. Cubby, 15 seconds rebuttal. Give it to me.
I thought in spring Kaori was a top 6 80 carry if he played in LCS while he was in Academy. It wasn't the case. I think in summer, Kaori could still slot in some of the lower tier marksmen and I think fit in LCS just fine. I really feel like Kaori doesn't have much more to show on the Academy stage. It's just about consistency and pop-offs to get him noticed. I really think he is that good.
Okay, I don't know if that was 15 seconds. I actually wasn't keeping time, but it sounded about right. I gotta say, oh my... So basically, this is like current ability and talent right now versus like vibes and potential to continue growing. That's kind of like the takeaway that I have. I was like, do you take a player that you know will put in the effort, put in the work, and be willing to grow and improve, and also do that for the entire environment of the team? Or do you take a player that has the mechanical skill and the ability to pop off right now and will just elevate your team immediately?
I will say,
okay,
if you're torn between that, it depends what team you're trying to put this potential marksman or bot laner on, right? If the team is a veteran team and experience and they just need an upgrade in the position, I think Kaori would probably be the best one that can just slot in. Yeah, you can just slot him in and he'll perform as long as the rest of the team is up to similar, if not better level. But if you want a developmental roster and someone that is going to grow and be an LCS star by the 2 years from now, Spawn is your best investment, and he will continue flourishing.
I really hope that teams don't look at Spawn's age and not that detract from Spawn, because the amount of improvement we've seen from Spawn in this time in Academy, it's been really big. And this split, I think he has been fantastic. So really excited for this bot lane matchup coming up.
It's going to be fun to watch this matchup in this specific series because we get to see who's able to take that victory. If Spawn can get the better of Kaori, that is raising Spawn's incredibly in my mind. If Kaori can reverse the fortunes essentially of Evil Geniuses and try and get a couple more wins under the belt, give them a better seeding going into Proving Grounds, hey, that feels good too. But with that said, we're ready for pick and ban. So, Cubby, Rafa, for the first time of the day, take it away.
You gave it to me! Yes! Sierra didn't give me the honor at all. I never got to take it.
Bros, we all have different styles here, Rafa.
Well, Jenkins, I appreciate you Now we are heading into the draft phase. Evil Geniuses Academy against Dignitas Academy. I think it's no question, Cubby, that we are kind of highlighting the bot lane as our premier matchup here. But of course, if the draft changes and we get not so aggressive bot lanes and we see some action popping off between maybe the top lane, which is another point of discussion that we actually should be touching on, since this is going to be Hoon's second series overall in Academy.
Yeah, so Hoon, for fans that don't know, was supposed to be the top laner at the start of the split, was working on obtaining a visa. Last time we saw Hoon, he was competing with 5 Ronin in the TCL, but has also been a sub for orgs in the LCK, like a Freak of Freaks, like Hanwha Life, and someone that Dignitas thinks very highly of coming in, talking to Deos. He said that, you know, he flew in, he landed at 4, he was playing scrim games by 6, he's got a great mentality so far, you know, trying his best to really step up and be someone that is going to be helpful in the team environment. Good to see out of Dig, but I do want to at least think about the drafts, because we did hype up the bot lane so much. And I'm surprised that we actually see an immediate Senna lock-in here for EG, as Kaori's only played this once so far this split. So I think this is a bit of a deny away from Dignitas. Spawn and JJ have been very good with the Senna top catch.
Yeah, and doing a little bit of homework on the side, trying to catch up on what are been stats like for bot laners across the board. A lot of them have been somewhat inflated because, as you told me, Kaori is one of the few that does not play a lot of Senna. But, oh my god, we're getting Bel'Veth! I know XU has been apparently a big fan of Bel'Veth in prior weeks, but I didn't think that after the nerfs, Bel'Veth would still be played here in Academy.
So we are on 12-12B. It is worth noting that in week 4, we were on 12-12, and Dignitas went 4-0. It wasn't against, you know, the top teams that we have. They took 2 games off FlyQuest and then 2-0 TSM's old roster. But XU's Bel'Veth was fantastic in some of those games. And I want to see if that can continue. Obviously feels comfortable enough playing that out now. What I like Bel'Veth with is when you take lockdown in solo lanes so Bel'Veth can combo off that. It's very important to play well around the first Herald. She also turns second Rift Herald into an extremely valuable objective. So I want to see if Dignitas can pair Bel'Veth up with lanes that empower her. And on the side of EG, any sort of defense you can take is good. So I think Senatom Kench against Bel'Veth, good start to the draft here for EG.
Evil Geniuses locking down the Senatom Kench lane, as you called it out. Spawn is going to be operating on safe range and distance with this Ezreal. So JJ has a couple options here. Either he can go for the Karma Ezreal lane that we have watched so many times in the past, or JJ could go for a support that would like to prioritize roaming, get some support alleviated towards the top side of the map, especially as you called it, the Rift Herald timer at 8 minutes.
Oh, Yumi's banned. Okay, as I say, Yumi pairs up really well with Bel'Veth. Something I actually really like with Bel'Veth is Sejuani, as you can stack up that Permafrost passive really quickly with the Bel'Veth E. Will not be the case, though, as with couple enchants just taken off the board, JJ will lock in his Rakan, which is 3-0 so far this split. Has been very good, and is a good matchup in the Senatom Kench as well.
And it gives you that roaming potential for Dignitas on the top side of the map if they're going to play for it around the 8-minute mark. Because Soligo has Azir. This is a champion, as you already noted before. It's going to be insanely scary late game, and we already saw a taste of it from a couple mid laners this week. But for Dignitas, now they need to start rounding out bans. Already at target towards Tomio with the buy.
Lockdown with Bel'Veth, very good. Also very good against Bel'Veth. So taking out Vi, I think that's point-and-click engage that EG could be looking for. It is also worth noting that Azir, it's a good pick for Soligo. He's 2-2 on it for a team that's only won 8 games. That's pretty good. But also, it's a big deny away from Insanity, as Azir is his most played and I believe most successful champion so far in this split. So EG doing some homework there as they continue to take away the lockdown junglers. No more Poppy.
And that would prevent a lot of the movement from Bel'Veth once the Void surges get on an insanely low cooldown, also preventing things like the Rakan from being able to dash in with the Grand Entrance and the Quickness combo. The Swain being taken off the board. Now, I don't know much about Swain apart from if you have low damage, then Swain becomes almost unkillable from the side of... But with Azir, I feel like that shouldn't be an issue, but, you know, there's probably something that I don't know about the Swain on the current patch.
It's good in the Senatom Kench, so that is a lower damage bot lane more damage over time instead of upfront damage
Okay.
to take the Swain out. So I think that being taken away from Insanity, it's also something he's been playing quite a bit of in Champs Queue, even though we've only seen it a couple times from him on stage.
Sure.
His Silas, though, importantly, it's 2-0. So Insanity going for that again. I gotta say, he doesn't have too many great ultimates to take away. Unironically, if Nar's locked in here for 30, that's a really good ult for Silas, and I think would actually open up an angle where we could see the Silas go top into the hands of Hoon going up against Nar. That is a lane matchup you can't play out as the Silas.
Dignitas Academy have a couple options here then. Either, as you called it out, flex the Silas towards the top side of the map, or give Hoon something else that can punish the Gnar, or at least have better, more secure lockdown for XU if he wants to come to the top side.
I like this Trundle pick. Not only does it set up for a very standard blue side comp, but also dissuades the Sejuani for Hoon. So that is something that combos very well with Bel'Veth. But Hoon, he has counter pick if he wants it. As I mentioned, Silas, you can play it into the Gnar, but it seems like Hoon is going to opt for that Jace. This is the second most played champion under his belt in his career. So we will see Hoon trying to take it to 30 on a champion that 30 has really made a name for himself for throughout Academy on that Jace.
Well, you know what, Cubby? I am so glad that I teased our other matchup here in the top lane between Hoon and Surdy, because if you look on the bottom side of the map, Ezreal Senna, I'm not going to lie, I should not see anyone dying in that duo lane.
Oh, hold on. Hold on.
I'm saying Ezreal's got so much safety and Senna's got so much sustain that both of these people should be keeping it back. They should be sustaining on up. I want to see blood being drawn on the top side of the map between a Jace and a Gnar, because as we've talked about before, if you don't this Jace, you want to put a lot of pressure into it. It scales incredibly well now this time around, and with JJ on something like the Rakan, I can imagine seeing a lot of roaming towards the top side of the map to facilitate that strong side.
And we'll see, because I feel like for Dignitas, their comp with the Jace, with the Silas, important that they're able to get ahead early, use some of the lane priority they have to open up things for Bel'Veth. It's going to make that first Rift Herald very, very important. If Bel'Veth is able to get it, her ability to get the Empowered True Form and snowball from there, she turns Rift Heralds from already the strongest objective in the early game to something that is entirely different for a team, can really set EG far behind early if that first Rift goes over to Dig. So all eyes have to be on those first couple Rift Heralds on the side of Dignitas.
All right, well, let's kick it off, Cubby. Game 1 between Dignitas and Evil Geniuses Academy starts right now. Hey, not too bad.
That was pretty smooth, Rob.
Let's go.
Not bad.
I've been getting better at my Atlas-esque introductions. Anytime you tune into LCK, Atlas has that booming voice. He's like, Game 1 between T1 and... I'm butchering the accent. I'm so sorry, Atlas. Please don't.
Well, then you gotta let it breathe. You gotta let it breathe for some of the crowd chants, too.
True.
Very iconic part of Law Park.
See, that's something that we're not used to yet, Cubby. We haven't really cast in front of a crowd that often. I think
maybe we'll get remote fans. We can get remote fans.
Just open up like a Discord call. Oh, hold up. We've got some early action and blood on this movie. You might be forced to flash over the wall. Ignite is used by JJ. That is the standard trade.
And I'd say a win for Dig, as Ignite for Flash. That cooldown comes up a bit sooner. Looking at some of the spells we have early, I think important to note, Spawn. You want to no action in that bot lane, Rafa. First strike Ezreal with a teleport. That is, I feel like Spawn wants no action either in that lane. He just wants to chill out. Get farmed up, make sure that Ezreal's hitting those spikes a bit earlier. As looking at our junglers, it's going to be bot side starts for each of them.
With the ward being swept out by the Trinket, this is going to confirm for Dignitas that Tomio is starting at red buff. XU can now operate with a little bit more information, figure out what his ideal path is going to be. More than likely with Bel'Veth, you just want to farm up and get to level 6 as fast as possible so you can be ready for that Rift Herald spawn.
That is one thing about Bel'Veth. So XU pathing towards that top side doesn't have a lot of CC gank setup from Hoon's Jace. The real crowd control where Bel'Veth could potentially look is going to be mid and bot. So I think what you are teasing here, Rafa, a quiet early game where Dignitas wants to farm and just make sure they have that first Rift Herald set up be as strong as it can possibly be for them. That seems to be the game plan here from the side of Dignitas.
Ooh, and Sandy taking a lot of damage off of the brunt of that. Was trying to get in Soligo's face so that he would not disturb XU while he is farming out his jungle. Tomio, watch this though. He's going for an early game timer. He's going to be here before Surdy, or before XU will be. And
he 3 camps, yeah.
Yeah, he is looped right around Hoon. This is a great time to be here, and Hoon has got nowhere else to run. Not going to even try to look for the flash here. He's already punted Tomio away. Maybe he'll think about it. Flash, but it's a flash return from Tomio. The pillar gets him in range, and Surdy picks up first blood.
We said that EG likes to get active early, and Tomio, using that Trundle level 3, takes the fastest clear he can possibly take to get level 3, get top lane, makes the most of it working with Surdy. All the way back from their EGP days. Good stuff coming out from Surdy and Tomio.
And this is what, as any EGP fan would want to see back in the day. The confident Tomio making it happen, empowering Surdy, who can be such a strong carry force in the top lane, reminiscent of those 2020 days.
Now the response for the enemy jungler, it is to get up in the face. Oh, that's a steal.
XU stealing the blue buff. Did he just BM him too? Was it like a spammy mode?
No, that's Bel'Veth, Rafa. Welcome to the new champ in League of Legends.
Oh, when he slaps super fast and he just stands there. Okay.
Yeah, he goes crazy.
Or she. It's a she, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I
that's...
I misgendered. That's my bad.
That's, Bel'Veth is, brand new. Tricky champion, figure out, as Bel'Veth. XU, at least gonna pick up a bonus camp on that first clear. And we'll be able to get access, most likely, to this bot trap, too, along with the respawn Gromp. So, while it is a good start for the top laner of EGA, XU is off the races as well.
Very critical for XU to get that camp lead and experience lead. We talked about the main win con, being able to get to level 6, get access to that first Rift Herald so you can get those stacks up, and then get access to the true form, where Bel'Veth truly starts to become terrifying, and the rest of Dignitas, if they can facilitate that, they're going to be in a great spot come mid-game.
And XU stealing away those respawn Raptors, too. The respawn camp's very important early. He is very far ahead of the Trundle, so while I do like the move from Tomio, XU punishing as hard as he possibly can, trying to set Tomio as far behind as possible for making that early play, getting his top laner ahead, and honestly just puts more of a focus on Surdy to see if Surdy can do something with this lead, Rob.
So far, it hasn't really netted him a huge lead. He's still down in CS against Hoon. A little bit of love in the First Blood Gold allows him to stay within line of Hoon, and because he's going for the Muramana first, it's a scaling build, right? We've seen it for quite some time now, so Hoon isn't going to be a huge bully for Surdy to be able to deal with. But one thing that EG are doing right now is using this Trundle priority to pick up the first dragon of the game.
Shout out to our observers, too. A little vision toggle there, making sure that Tomio gonna get a little bit of help from Kaori to take down one of the higher DPS Drakes in the game.
Just outside of the crab range, too.
Yeah, well done. But
this is what we were talking about, Cubby. JJ on the recon saying, hey, yo, Spawn, you're chilling. Good vibes on the bottom side of the map on Ezreal. That means I get to roam to the top side and make it happen with Hoon. Surdy flashing over, but you can only do so much against 3.
Good roam from JJ. He knows it's free as EG just took that dragon, able to hit that timer. And while the first play top was big for EGA, that is much bigger for Dignitas as multiple waves are going to die into the turret. And that lead for Surdy that Tomio invested a lot in, lost a lot of his camp score thanks to the punish from XU, it's now gone.
So now 2 people are insanely far ahead for XU, and Hoon being able to get such a great boon off of the 3-man dive. Spawn is the person that has to slightly fall back from the pressure, lost out on half of that wave, but considering that he is still up on CS against Smoothie, who's the person that is farming in this lane, things are looking great for Dignitas right now.
He's fine. Digger off to a good start. And as we are approaching that first Rift Herald, it is important that Dignitas are off to that good start because Rift on Bel'Veth, if you get first Rift, this champion is filthy. Doesn't matter what kind of changes they made on 12-12B. Bel'Veth is going to be going hard. So XU does have that level 6. We will see if he ends up making an appearance in the top
Oh,
side.
Surdy, time to run, homie. You see the Mana Ray Queen coming in through. Nice use of the hop with the knockup from XU. Gets him in range. The execute on the E is not going to be enough damage. Surdy goes Mega, and he gets out alive.
I still like that move from XU, though, because, look, 30 seconds before the Rift Herald, Surdy's forced to take a reset. Hoon can get that wave in for free. He has the option to stick around, take Rift when it starts, or even get a base, get more items under his belt, force Surdy to miss more resources in the top side. It looks like that's going to be the move for Dig, as XU's going to take a reset, but the pressure that XU's been able to exert on this champion early, for a champ that isn't known for being a ganker, just funneling himself, setting a couple of the lanes behind, specifically Surdy. Good start for XU in this game.
And I think that's a result of XU putting so much time into the champion, right? When you get to understand the ins and outs and the timers of when a champion can be strong, even when on paper it is a champion that relies on farm to become a monster, this is the result of just practice and so many reps that is now benefiting XU, as he and the rest of Dignitas should be getting ready for this Rift Herald take. But they're late to the party here.
Yeah, so Insanity was just forced out. He does have TP, but this means that EG, this is their timer to try and start the Rift Herald. Hoon's going to at least proc the Mega.
Hoon's got to be careful here. He might have to flash the Gnar ulti, but the Gnar comes through Dawning Shadow from across the wall.
Beautiful.
Hoon gets knocked out, despite the pressure that Dignitas put onto Surdy just a couple minutes ago. Tomio has the opportunity to contest for this Rift Herald, but XU's got to be clutch with a smite. He's got Insanity over in his back pocket as well.
Got it.
And the pressure from Insanity allows XU to now unlock his true form.
It wasn't only that, it was also Spawn TP'd mid. So Spawn's dropping a lot of resources bot, as Smoothie just sticking around there as Tom Kench is able to crash the wave, but a lot was invested by Dignitas to make sure that first Rift Herald goes their way. But now they have that 3-minute power play on the Bel'Veth, have that empowered true form, have Shelly in their back pockets. It was expensive, a lot was burned for it, but Dignitas were able to make sure that first Rift went in their favor.
All right, Cubby, so pop quiz. I'm going to put you into your coach's shoes, right? As XU right now, with this 3-minute timer and the Rift Herald, you've got a few minutes before turret plates go down. Do you now take this time and swing power back into the bottom side of the map where Spawn has been, you know, kind of weak side with JJ roaming up to the top side so much? Or do you try to swing things back into Hoon's favor with the Jays?
Your goal is to get 2 crashes in either side lane. You have to, it's a lot easier to do so in a side lane. I think it's more likely that they're able to do it top. And we do see XU sitting here at the moment. We'll see if Surdy gets a little bit too aggressive. But I think he's going to take his reset and TP back.
Okay. We'll have to keep tabs on Lord.
So, look top, yeah.
Well, all right. XU has decided. Surdy, your turret is going down.
Oh, meanwhile, bot. Smoothie's up 2
Should
doubles
be
on
fine.
JJ.
Oh, but Smoothie was flashing for it. He was ready to get the last tick for the Devourer to go off and swallow JJ whole. But first turret has been completed, and it's brick gold over to Dignitas. They're going to get a second crash.
It's
Tomio coming up around. You got to be careful about fighting XU here in Empowered True Form for another couple of minutes. Subjugate already being used to whittle down Hoon. Surdy isn't in Mega Form yet, but he has the range, and XU says, sorry, dude. I gotta leave you. There's no way we win the 2v2, and XU's gonna take his lead.
A little bit of an overextension there from Dig, but it is still nearly the 2-turret take that we were teasing with Bel'Veth. Wasn't quite able to take down the inner. Good defense from EG, as they could be looking for more, so he goes flash. Not commit.
He thought about it.
I think it's just gonna set up for Dragon, as there was a big chunk in the bot lane that EGA were able to net. Off of a nice route from Kaori, followed up by Smoothie. I think that health bar exchange is going to be enough that EG can take their second dragon of the game uncontested.
This is going to give EG a little bit of a Dragon Soul win con to work for, as long as they can get 2 dragons to the name, but XU's already here, 2,000 HP. If XU walks in range, he might be able to get it. JJ going to get the grand entrance, and they're looking to take out Tomio. XU burns it down, steals the dragon, and now he has got the Empowered True Form unlocked once again. JJ and Spawn are forced to kite over to the right side of the map, but XU is all isolated here. Insanity! He stole the Devourer, gives XU the huge shield, but I don't think it's going to be enough damage. But XU and Insanity managed to get out alive.
Are they all out?
Oh, JJ, looks like he's falling. The rest of Kaori and Soligo turn their attention over to the bottom lane. Meanwhile, we've got more action
It's
on the top side of the map.
madness.
Hoon just got to keep his distance, but he gets wall-up. Surdy wins the 1v1, and EG come out big with kills.
Oh my goodness, fights everywhere, Rafa, as EG. The fact they were able to take them all for themselves. I mean, Dignitas, yes, they get the dragon, but I don't think it's worth it. All the gold now is going to go over to Surdy's pockets. We said that Surdy was the one that was set up for success early in this game from that early gank from Tomio. He just killed Hoon in between turrets. He's 4-1. Hoon's 1-4. Surdy's off to the races. But first, we got to take a look at this dragon fight. Tomio gets eaten up. Actually, was able to steal it while Tomio's in the stomach of Smoothie. And then from here, Dig are totally split. Somehow are able to only escape dropping their support. That is honestly a miracle for the side of Dignitas.
And it could have been so much more disastrous. It seems like once Insanity committed over to saving XU there, I thought at least both of them were going to go down. But clutch use of the hijack, and then, yeah.
So Surdy hopped to get the boulder, and then sidestepped the Q, able to land the wall up. Really well played by Surdy. Of course, did Tweety felt like he was the second strongest top laner in Academy right now.
There you go.
Trying to prove that. Sitting at 4-1 here, putting up some good performances this week.
I think Surdy has been counting the number of times. After that solo kill, he's like, yeah, so I got 1 gank, Hoon got like 2, 3, 4, and I'm still winning the 1v1s, you know, just, you take the small dubs whenever you can.
I feel like, so when you do take Rift or Baron, of course, the topside objective, you get that Empowered True Form for Bel'Veth, which gives you the Fishy Fishies, the Minion Wave.
Oh, yes.
And I feel like that counts as like 2 visits in 1, because then your Minion Wave, whenever it dies, turns into Fish. Bel'Veth doesn't even have to kill him. If she's around, they just go Fish mode.
Does Surdy not have Hop anymore? I think he's kiting on XU decently. A lot of damage from Hoon onto the left side. The rest of Dignitas are moving their resources into the blue jungle. EG are not able to contest. XU might be able to yoink this blue buff away, but the rest of EG, can they collapse? Can they look for a play? A teleport coming in. Hoon is going to get the tower here, but can he get out alive?
Ligo and
Saving
Surdy.
Private Hoon. I don't think this mission is going to be a success for Dignitas. They get the turret, but he falls once again, and Smoothie is now looking to run him down. It's only JJ, and it's only XU. JJ doing everything that he can to buy time for his jungler to get out alive. They have a turret to escape to for safety, and it doesn't look like EG are going to be able to pursue, but if Surdy goes Mega, they could look for it. Plays called off.
And honestly, a lot invested from EG, as Dignitas are going to win out in 2 lanes. Importantly for EG, I think part of why they went so hard for that play, they do deny the second Rift from XU. That's big for Bel'Veth. Makes that second Rift Herald really powerful, and Dignitas, knowing this, they actually want to still commit.
No way, he actually just gets in range. No way, he clutches it.
He got it.
Oh my god! I shouldn't even be surprised! XU always wins the flips, baby!
Well, I guess Rafa's back. Yeah, you might have missed 1 or 2 flips in summer, but going back to spring.
We haven't even gone into the Baron stage yet, which is where XU is notorious for stealing those. But he's stolen a Dragon, he's stolen a Rift Herald now. I mean, like, dude, it's... We gotta rebrand Lawrence to, like, El Bandito.
I feel like that's been taken before.
You know what? It has been.
We'll figure it out.
We'll have to find another, like, you know, cool name for Baron Stealer.
I mean, I feel like his name's XU, just, you know, X marks the spot. There's a joke there. Like,
you know what? We'll work on it. It definitely has potential.
We're gonna workshop this. Yeah, we're gonna workshop this. Do a solid for XU.
Well, I'll tell you what, Cubby. EG are gonna have to workshop a way to get this dragon off their hands. Boom. That's one.
Transitions, baby. We do have an Ocean Soul on the Rift. As fortunately for EG, the gold lead is not in their favor anymore, but they still have a comp. You know, with the Zir, you can pump out enough damage later in the game that you can survive. The scaling aspect for each of these teams, both scale well. I favor Dignitas, but it's not a doom scenario for EG. They are up to the challenge.
Kaori's already marked him. He's got eyes on him, making sure that Insanity cannot walk him for free for this collapse. Dignitas are trying to force this pinch. All 5 members corralled from Dignitas onto EG. Surdy goes Mega. Does not land the Mega Gnar ultimate here, and now his minion Exu just gets to punish, and he is feasted upon. Huge knockup from Insanity goes down. Can Dignitas capitalize here? They've already taken out 1-for-1, and Exu claims the dragon. Spawn finds a stray Mystic shot, clips out Soligo, and the rest of Evil Genius' Academy are on the run.
And for EG, you're staring down a Jace Ezreal, getting stuck in the river, not being able to make a play. I feel like Surdy going for that flash ult. It was a react from Spawn that was nice, got him out, but EG have to find a way to find engages, make plays. They can't get stuck in the river where they're getting peppered by Empowered Shock Blast, by Mystic Shot. That's not a winning formula for EG. Them not being able to make a decision on when and how to engage really punish them in the end, as look at how low their health bars are before this fight even starts. Great reaction from Spawn means that Surdy, he's mincemeat for the Bel'Veth, and then from here, it's easy. It's a double Emperor's Divide.
Insanity being able to react right in time with Soligo as well. He was looking for the scoop, but Insanity gives a scoop of his own. And Dignitas, this is the poke composition coming online at this stage in the game, and whenever you group up for these objectives, Evil Geniuses are pressured to start the fight as fast as possible. Otherwise, you're going to get whittled down on your HP, and you're not going to be healthy enough to take the fight afterwards.
It's funny because I specifically remember a game where Surdy started like 1-6 on Jace in Spring and still like hard carry, and it feels like Kuhn is at the item break point where it doesn't matter how far behind you are on Jace, you're going to be pumping damage if an Empowered Shock Blast connects. And yeah, EG, vulnerable to the poke there.
Yeah.
I still can't get over the break in the Matrix we saw, though, with the double Emperor's Divide. That was very in sync. Very pretty.
Evil Geniuses know that XU and JJ are around here, but they don't know where. It's already thought he was safe, but the face check into the bush, the hop, and without a flash, he's good as dead. And the rest of Evil Geniuses trying to collapse, trying to salvage it, but Tomio, he's just a trundle, man. He's already used Flash. Smoothly forced to use a Devour, so Ligo's going to keep them at bay, has a Divide available so that Dignitas cannot get in range, but they are cutting off EG, walking towards the mid tower. Let's see if they can actually take it out.
Really like that movement from Dig to cut them off, as they're going to get pushed mid, but they can just rotate this into bot where they have a double wave about to be prepped once the cannon crashes. Insanity. He could take the subjugate. Very good on the Silas.
He's going to turn Tomio into a paperweight at this point, and he is gone. JJ clips it. TP coming in, I believe, for Surdy, but he's still only mini form. He's got the range damage, but he doesn't have the CC. Will be enough for Evil Geniuses to capitalize and be able to find revenge kills here. Insanity's still getting slowed down here, and it's enough. Surdy finds a double, and it's just going to be Hoon trying to throw himself into EG, but a triple kill for Surdy, still trying to make himself, giving that impact over against Dignitas.
Surdy might have gotten caught out earlier, but Dignitas almost caught in the middle of two plays. They weren't exactly sure which turret they wanted to push or take. Ended up settling for the bottom one. Key is, though, Spawn's not here, and once they take down Tomio, Soligo's untouched. They burned a lot to make sure that Trundle went down. Surdy's TP is great, as Smoothie Kaori were able to rotate, and all of a sudden, Digger running for the hills, and that's the perfect spot as Gnar. Just keep on throwing out the rings, keep on slowing people down, chasing them. EG feels good when they're fighting at an even health bar, when the poke doesn't connect preemptively. EG showing a little bit of fight, able to bounce back, and we have a pretty closely contested game at our hands. I still think it's Dignitas' favorite at the moment, Rafa, but it's good to see EG showing more signs of life after this break.
Yeah, and just knowing that Evil Geniuses are not going to be afraid to step up when Dignitas are overextending themselves and rushing some steps. We've definitely seen it from Academy teams before, and it's good to show that Evil Geniuses are not letting their confidence waver. They're always looking optimistically for plays, ways that they can get back into this game. So it puts the onus on Dignitas that, yes, your composition is favored, but it doesn't mean that you can just play recklessly.
And it is something that I think has hurt EG at times in this split. Always looking for plays. Sometimes they force things that are not there. But I think the big difference I've noticed in this week is that EG feels like they're more on the same page. At times, it really felt like this team was going for multiple plays at once. We're not fully committed to plays. Plays were broken, looking at some of their games. I think a good example was kind of that second Rift Herald they played around where they committed the 2 TPs on the top side. Wasn't all the way there because they didn't commit to taking that second Rift, and they overcommitted to the play in the first place. But that was a good example of them being on the same page, not overcommitting, making sure that they were all taking down the same target. punishing Dig. We'll see if EG can have a better setup going into this Dragon. That poke from Dig is still massive. EG needs to find a better engage and avoid that poke if they want to have a chance at winning this Dragon.
Yeah, it's off of a pillar from Tomio, which they get onto XU, but JJ and XU have the mobility to at least get away from Evil Geniuses before they lock them down. And it's the poke. You called it before. They're looking for the re-engage now. Knock up from both XU and JJ. Layers down. It forces a devour from Smoothie, but he gets eaten alive. And it's the aimless feast and the banquet from XU, getting the reset, but that's a huge Gnar ultimate from Surdy. It's not going to be enough to turn it around. It looked damn good, but Evil Genius's damage had already been taken out, and we're already pushed out of the fight.
I mean, if only Saligo was alive to follow up on that. His spawn's not done. Ooh. Scan Abduct does not connect that, and Power Shock Blast takes half of Kaori's health bar. Soul Point going over to Dig, and again, Dig playing this poke comp very well. Just letting EG chase them side to side, getting the flanks off, and waiting until they find poke to then take the fight after.
You almost feel bad for Surdy, because it's like, man, he is playing out of his mind, man. He is trying so hard to find these huge Gnar turnaround fights, but because Dignitas are isolating and identifying the main damage dealers, key point being Saligo, when he's gone, Kaori has to distance himself so far away that he can't even follow up on the re-engage.
And it looked like Saligo didn't have his ult available in that fight, which is massive. The fact there was no Emperor's Divide, that could have denied the grand entrance. That not being up for Saligo. He does have it now, as Dig looking for a power play onto Saligo, who now has that ult.
And no flash available. Divide pushes XU back, but they stunned him on the way as he was shifting over. Surdy, another 3-man Gnar ultimate. He leaps over to safety from Smoothie. Still has a Devour in case if he needs it. Forced to use it. Naka comes in from the rest of Dignitas, and they've locked them down in the jungle quadrant. Hoon flashing forward, getting a response flash from Kaori, but it's enough pressure to now force themselves into the Baron.
Love the fast play from Dig. They have low cooldown ultimates. They can keep on taking plays, especially when summoner spells are down. Saligo had ult, did not have flash. Focus him down, isolate him in the side lane. That Baron's all theirs.
We are now at almost 25 minutes into the game, Cubby. 7,000 gold lead for Dignitas in a series of 2 plays after what had been a very neck-and-neck game. Close between both of these teams for the entire 20 minutes that we had seen both of them playing out, but 2 team fights is all it takes for Dignitas to swing incredibly far ahead.
And for Dig, this was a game where it was Surdy getting very far ahead early. But I think XU's ability to stick to what Velvet does best, funneling herself, making sure that XU was going to be ahead when the time came, and netting a couple big objective steals. Overcommitting for the first Herald, I think was worth it for Dig. Stealing the second was massive. They stole a Dragon too. It's really been a team effort, but I think a big game from XU with Smoothie. That's Flash Devour gone. And that might just be this bot inhibitor turret gone as well as Surdy's mini. Oh man, all the fishes are hard to deal with, man. Yeah. As XU is just chilling, letting them do the dirty work.
Yes, my children, do your dirty work. XU just leading the charge. And it's so incredible to see a jungler that we came to know as someone who was a beast on the Lee Sin, on early game junglers that wanted to just force the advantage, playing a champion that requires patience, control, and XU making sure that he never put himself in situations where he would go down. 1-0-7, a quiet game for XU, but one where its pressure was still immensely felt by Evil Geniuses.
Finishing touches coming in here for Dignitas on the side of EG. Any Emperor's Divide into Gnar Wombo combo is really going to be the saving grace, but looking at the levels of both teams, Surdy trying to make all the plays across the map, down 2 levels now on Hoon. Dignitas is up so much. I really think it's too much to overcome. 10k gold deficit. As Dig, that's 2 inhibitors down now. And Bel'Veth with Baron. It's pretty easy to push as he shifts into the next lane. More fish spawn.
Oh, they're just eating this turret up, man.
Yeah.
This is going down faster than balsa would.
Oh,
But
there's
Taligo's
D10.
gonna try. Divide already clips XU. Only has Ghost. Is gonna use the Void Surge and try and dash out at this one. The movement speed, XU finally goes down for the first time in this game. Can the Evil Geniuses clean up though? But you've gotta worry about Spawn, who is also deathless. 504 on the Ezreal, who is still putting out massive damage with this Ezreal. Just continuously firing Mystic Shot after Mystic Shot, and Dignitas take out the two Nexus turrets. Rest of Evil Genius is holding on with every last breath, but that breath is getting shut out quick by Dignitas, as a few more auto attacks are gonna do it. Dignitas will take game 1 of this series.
Sound play from Dig. I think big moments in that game. The roam from JJ Top, huge. 2 steals from XU as well, and then the team commit for how they utilized the 3 TPs to make sure that first Rift Herald was theirs and Belvath was off to the races. Good team play coming out from Dignitas, bouncing back from what was a close 0-2 yesterday against CLG. I think Game 2 really should have been theirs. Feels good to get one on the board here in our Week 5 Super Week.
Just good props to pretty much all of the Dignitas members. I know Hoon, looking back at the score line, definitely sporting the most deaths on the Dignitas squad, and it's going to look, oh man, Hoon was soft inting, but no, like Hoon was doing his job trying to get turrets, and the fact that he was making sure that he was getting turret plate gold and turrets under his belt, even though that Surdy had more kills than him individually, Hoon still had a ton of gold, so by the time it came to the mid-game fights, as you called it out, he was putting in just as much damage as Spawn was and making sure that the poke comp was giving them those advantages to turn things around. But as we get ready for our break and for our halftime show with Kangas, we're going to be sending it to a quick little recharge session. So when we come back, it's going to be our halftime show.